you tried yesterday's breathing technique, you felt the shift. Maybe it was subtle, a moment of clarity, a deeper sense of calm, or simply the realization that your body was listening. But here's what Japanese centenarians know that most people never discover. Breathing alone is incomplete. The Okinawan elders who live past 100 don't just practice the tanden breath in isolation. They pair it with 6 specific movements that create what neuroscientists now call integrated neuroplasticity, a state where your brain, nervous system, and musculoskeletal structure communicate so efficiently that aging markers literally reverse. When Harvard researchers observed these movements in action, they measured something extraordinary. Participants who combined the breathing with these motions showed BDNF increases of 120%. Their balance scores improved by 63%, and their inflammatory markers dropped so dramatically that the lead researcher said, "We're not just slowing aging. We're creating biological time reversal." Today you're going to learn exactly what those 6 movements are, why they work, and how 12 minutes a day can give you the mobility and mental clarity of someone decades younger. The breathing pattern, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds hold, 5 seconds out, does 3 things simultaneously. It optimizes oxygen delivery to your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. It activates your vagus nerve, shifting you from stress response into parasympathetic dominance where healing occurs. And it increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the protein responsible for growing new neural connections. This is your foundation. This is the operating system update that tells your body, we're not in survival mode anymore. We're in regeneration mode. But breathing, however optimized, only addresses half the equation. Your body is designed for movement, not exercise in the Western sense, not strain, not exhaustion, not pushing through pain. Movement as communication. Movement as medicine. Movement as the language your lymphatic system, your joints, and your proprioceptive nerves have been waiting to hear. The Japanese approach to longevity movement is fundamentally different from Western fitness culture. There's no concept of no pain, no gain. Instead, there's a principle called ki-nagar, the flow of life energy. Each movement is designed not to build muscle or burn calories, but to maintain the channels through which vitality moves. When those channels remain open, aging slows. When they close, decline accelerates. What you're about to learn isn't a workout. It's a maintenance protocol for being human. Here's what happens inside your body when you stop moving properly. Your lymphatic system, which is responsible for clearing cellular waste and supporting immune function, has no pump. Lymph only flows when you move. When you're sedentary, toxins accumulate, inflammation increases, your immune system becomes sluggish. This is why prolonged sitting is now considered as dangerous as smoking. Your proprioceptive system, the network of nerves that tells your brain where your body is in space, begins to deteriorate. This is the root cause of falls, the leading cause of injury-related death in people over 65. But proprioception isn't fixed. It's trainable, and specific movements can restore it completely. Your joints require motion to stay lubricated. Synovial fluid, the substance that cushions your cartilage, only circulates when you move through full ranges of motion. Without this, you get stiffness, inflammation, and eventually immobility. The Japanese movements are particularly powerful because they're designed around something called vagal afferents, movement patterns that specifically stimulate the vagus nerve through body position and breath synchronization. Research from the University of Tsukuba showed that these movements create a feedback loop. The breathing enhances the movement. The movement deepens the breathing, and together they create a state of coherence that shows up on brain scans as synchronized activity across multiple regions. This is why Tai Chi practitioners show significantly lower rates of cognitive decline. This is why Japanese centenarians maintain balance and flexibility into their 90s. They're simply maintaining the biological systems that Western culture lets atrophy. Each of the 6 movements targets a specific aspect of this integrated system. And when performed in sequence, they create something greater than the sum of their parts. Movement 1, the rising tide. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, knees soft, not locked. As you begin your 5-second inhale, raise your arms slowly from your sides, palms facing up until they meet above your head. The movement should take the entire 5 seconds. Hold your breath at the top, arms extended, feeling the stretch through your rib cage and the activation in your shoulders. Then, as you exhale for 5 seconds, lower your arms in the same controlled arc. This movement does 3 things. It opens your thoracic cavity, improving lung capacity. It activates the muscles between your ribs that atrophy with age, muscles essential for deep breathing. And it stimulates lymphatic flow in your upper body through the gentle pumping action of your arms rising and falling. The Japanese call this welcoming the morning chi. Neuroscience calls it upper body lymphatic drainage combined with shoulder mobility restoration. Movement 2, the rude awakening. Shift your weight to your right foot. Slowly lift your left knee to hip height or as high as comfortable. Hold this position through 1 complete breath cycle. 5 in, 5 hold, 5 out. Then switch sides. The goal isn't height. It's stability. It's feeling the thousands of proprioceptive nerves in your standing foot firing, recalibrating, strengthening. Balance isn't about strength. It's about information. Every micro-adjustment your ankle makes while you're standing on one leg sends signals to your cerebellum, the brain region responsible for coordination. This is neuroplasticity in action. Studies show that balance training increases gray matter density in the cerebellum within 8 weeks. This movement is your insurance against falls and your investment in spatial awareness that keeps you independent. Movement 3, the meridian tap. Using your fingertips, begin gently tapping along your collarbones, moving from the center of your chest outward toward your shoulders. Then tap down the inside of your left arm from shoulder to palm. Then up the outside of your arm. Repeat on the right side. Synchronize the tapping with your breath. Tap as you inhale. Pause at the hold. Tap as you exhale. This movement follows the pathways of the lung and heart meridians in traditional Chinese medicine. Practices deeply integrated into Japanese health philosophy. Western science recognizes this as stimulation of superficial lymph nodes and mechanoreceptors. The light percussion activates your immune system, increases circulation to your extremities, and provides sensory input that enhances body awareness. It's self-administered therapy that your lymphatic system craves. Movement 4, the dragon spiral. Place your hands on your hips. Slowly rotate your torso to the right, keeping your hips facing forward. Feel the gentle twist through your spine. Hold for 1 breath cycle. Return to center. Rotate to the left. This spinal rotation is critical for maintaining the health of your intervertebral discs and the mobility required for daily activities. But there's a deeper benefit. Your vagus nerve runs along your spine. Gentle twisting movements stimulate this nerve mechanically, enhancing the parasympathetic activation you've already initiated with your breathing. Japanese practitioners describe this as wringing out stagnant energy. Physiologists describe it as improving cerebrospinal fluid circulation and maintaining spinal flexibility. Both are accurate. Movement 5, the centering descent. Return to your hip-width stance. Place both hands on your tanden 2 inches below your navel. As you inhale, imagine drawing energy up from the earth through your feet. As you hold, feel that energy gathering in your center. As you exhale, perform a slight bend in your knees, lowering your center of gravity just a few inches, as if you're preparing to sit, but never quite do. This semi-squat position, held for just a moment, strengthens the muscles that prevent falls, your quadriceps, hip flexors, and core stabilizers. But it's also a meditation on stability. You're teaching your body where true strength originates. Not from surface muscles, but from your core, from your center, from the place the Japanese have revered for 5,000 years as the seat of vitality. Movement 6, the closing seal. Bring your palms together in front of your heart, fingers pointing upward. Press your palms together firmly enough to engage your chest and arm muscles. Hold this position through 3 complete breath cycles. With each exhale, press slightly firmer. With each inhale, maintain the pressure but soften your shoulders. This isometric hold activates your pectorals and anterior deltoids, muscles that weaken with age and contribute to forward shoulder posture. But symbolically, you're sealing the practice. You're telling your body, this work is complete. This energy is integrated. This is the transition from practice back into living. Here's your complete 12-minute protocol. Begin with 2 minutes of the breathing. Just breathing, nothing else. This calibrates your nervous system and prepares your body for movement. Then flow through all 6 movements, spending about 1 minute on each. Don't rush. The speed is intentional. The slowness is the point. You're not performing exercises. You're conducting a conversation with your body in the language it understands best. Deliberate, conscious motion paired with breath. And with 2 more minutes of just breathing. Feel what's different now. Notice the warmth in your extremities, the clarity in your mind, the sense of being fully present in your body. Do this every morning. The Japanese centenarians do it before their first meal when their body is primed for neuroplasticity and their mind is free from the day's distractions. Consistency transforms these movements from actions into rituals. And rituals shape identity. You become someone who moves, someone who breathes, someone who chooses vitality. These movements are acts of defiance against everything our culture tells us about aging. They're quiet declarations that you refuse to become invisible, immobile, dependent. They're investments in a future where you're not asking for help opening jars or avoiding stairs or declining invitations because your body has become a cage. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, your reason for being. But ikigai requires capability. It requires a body that can execute what your spirit desires. These 6 movements maintain that capability. They keep your joints fluid so you can garden, travel, play with grandchildren. They keep your balance sharp so you never fear falling. They keep your mind clear so you remain yourself, fully present until your final day. There's a woman in Okinawa named Miseo. She's 97. She still tends her garden, cooks her own meals, and walks 3 miles to the market twice a week. When researchers asked her secret, she didn't mention genetics or diet. She said something profound: "I move because I want to keep moving." That's the hidden truth. Movement creates movement. Stillness creates stillness. Every day you practice these 6 movements, you're voting for the person you'll be at 90. You're telling yourself, we're not done yet. We're still growing, still adapting, still participating in life. The science supports this completely. Neuroplasticity doesn't have an expiration date. Your brain can form new connections at 80 just as it did at 8. Your muscles can strengthen at 70 just as they did at 20. Your balance can improve at 90. But only if you give your body the input it needs. These movements are that input. Combined with the tanden breath, they create a daily practice that addresses every system that determines your health span. Not just your lifespan, how long you live, but your health span, how long you live well. 12 minutes, 6 movements, 1 breath pattern. That's the price of independence. That's the cost of remaining yourself. The centenarians aren't lucky. They're consistent. They're intentional. They're willing to spend 12 minutes today to gain years tomorrow. Your body is waiting. It's been waiting for you to remember what it's capable of. These movements are the reminder. This breath is the key. Start today. Start now, because the person you'll be at 90 is being built by the choices you're making at this very moment. And that person, strong, stable, sharp, independent, deserves these 12 minutes. What makes these movements effective transcends their physical mechanics. Each one addresses a specific vector of age-related decline while simultaneously triggering systemic responses throughout your body. The rising tide movement, for instance, doesn't just stretch your shoulders. When you raise your arms overhead in synchronization with breath, you're creating negative pressure in your thoracic cavity that literally pulls lymph fluid upward from your lower body. This is the same principle that makes rebounding on a trampoline so effective for lymphatic drainage, but accomplished through intentional movement and breath coordination. The rude awakening addresses something critical that most balance training ignores. Standing on one leg doesn't just strengthen your ankle. It forces your brain to integrate information from 3 sensory systems simultaneously: your visual system, your vestibular system in your inner ear, and your proprioceptive system in your joints and muscles. When these 3 systems communicate efficiently, balance becomes automatic. When they don't, you wobble, compensate, and eventually fall. This single-leg stance with breath awareness trains all 3 systems to work in concert, creating what neuroscientists call sensory integration. The meridian tap operates on principles that Western medicine has only recently begun to validate. Your lymphatic system contains twice as much fluid as your circulatory system, but it has no central pump. It relies entirely on muscle contractions and external manipulation to move lymph through your body. The gentle percussion along your arms stimulates hundreds of tiny lymph nodes just beneath your skin, triggering a cascade of immune responses. White blood cell production increases. Inflammatory cytokines decrease. Your body receives a clear signal that it's time to clean house at the cellular level. The dragon spiral addresses spinal mobility, which determines far more than your ability to look over your shoulder. Your spine houses your spinal cord, the information superhighway connecting your brain to every organ, muscle, and gland in your body. When vertebrae lose mobility, they compress nerves, reducing the flow of information and creating what chiropractors call subluxations. But beyond nerve compression, spinal twisting creates a pumping action for cerebrospinal fluid, the clear liquid that bathes your brain and spinal cord. This fluid delivers nutrients and removes waste products from your central nervous system. Without adequate spinal movement, this fluid becomes stagnant, potentially contributing to cognitive decline. The centering descent trains your body to find stability through lowering your center of gravity rather than tensing upward. This principle appears in every traditional martial art because it works. When you lower your center, you become harder to unbalance, but you also engage your deep core muscles, the transverse abdominis and multifidus, that stabilize your spine during all movement. These muscles atrophy rapidly with age and sedentary behavior, which is why so many older adults develop chronic back pain. This single movement, practiced daily, maintains the deep core strength that keeps your spine healthy and your posture upright. The closing seal serves as both physical exercise and psychological anchor. The isometric contraction of pressing your palms together activates muscles throughout your chest, shoulders, and arms without requiring any joint movement. This makes it safe for people with joint issues while still providing significant strength benefits. But the real power lies in the ritual nature of this closing. You're creating a clear endpoint to your practice, a moment of completion that tells your nervous system the work is done. This psychological closure matters because it trains your brain to associate these 12 minutes with something sacred, something non-negotiable, something that belongs to you and your future self. When these 6 movements flow together in sequence with conscious breathing, they create what systems biologists call an emergent property, an outcome that exceeds what any individual component could produce. Your lymphatic system drains more efficiently. Your proprioceptive system recalibrates more accurately. Your spinal mobility improves more comprehensively. Your core strength develops more functionally. And your nervous system integrates all these improvements into a coordinated whole that manifests as vitality, as resilience, as the felt sense of inhabiting a body that still works, that still responds, that still carries you confidently through the world.